Hi, I'm Andrea. Thanks for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. A few things that'll be helpful, I think, for our practice today. A couple of blocks. If you don't have those, thick books are great as a substitute. Also, nice to have a folded blanket in case hands and knees happen, or to sit on. And speaking of sitting on things, I like to have a bolster in case I want even more of a perch to sit on. So you could just grab a cushion from your couch, or a solid pillow from your bed. I do happen to be standing barefoot on a yoga mat. Don't let that be intimidating. You can keep your shoes on, and you don't need to have a yoga mat to join us. Just find a spot in your house that's not too slippery, maybe carpeted. And once you have that, let's start in our bedrock pose of Tadasana, mountain pose. Feet hip distance, think standing with majesty. A little soft bend in your knees. Chin parallel to the ground as we gaze at our bright horizon. That's our story, and we're sticking to it. Turn your palms away from each other, but let that originate at your shoulder joint. Feel yourself somewhere between the earth and the sky. Fill this majesty with breath. Drawing it in, pause at the top. Letting it go, pause at the bottom. If you can move in the direction of breathing just through your nose, that's ideal, but mostly I want you to breathe. We'll take 30 seconds of silence, stopping so that we can start. From our mountain, we'll grow a tree, and this is the first opportunity that you might want to use the back of your chair. Of course, you could also go to the wall, put your hand on the wall if that's helpful. Now, start by shifting your weight onto your left foot, and let's just go back and forth. So palms out, let's kind of move our mountain, if you will. Sorry for the corny jokes, but it happens with me with some regularity. Now, next time you lean onto your left foot, stay there and bring your hands onto your hips. Hug this outer left hip in, so think tree trunk. And then take your right leg out in front of you with all of your toes facing the sky. This is where it might be a really nice idea to have your left hand on your chair. Now, from your hip joint, turn your right leg out and then back again. We'll do that one more time. Turn your right leg out, keep your tree trunk solid. And then create a kickstand with that same action happening in your right hip and your tree trunk solid, and very likely your left hand on your wall or on your chair. This is a perfect place to stay, just like this with the kickstand. You might place your right foot into the inseam of your left shin. Some of us could place the right foot into the inseam of the left thigh. That's not a goal. Some bodies do that a little bit more easily than others. How's it going with the tree trunk? Maybe right arm out to the side, thumb to the sky. You could do left arm out to the side, thumb to the sky, unless that left hand is on your wall or on your chair. And then things are going to get a little wobbly, and that's okay. Our mountain majesty sees us through no matter how much breeze there is in our trees sometimes. 2 moments. Take your hands onto your hips. Let's dismount slowly. You can always keep your left hand on your chair, and then turn your right knee forward and step back into your mountain hip distance. Palms face away from one another. Soft bend in our knees. Now, you can step to the other side of your chair, or move your chair over, or just place your other hand, your right hand, onto the wall. And then let's just do like a little back and forth shifting. So we feel the stability that's required to grow our tree. And then next time you're on your right foot, stay on your right foot. Right hand can be on your chair. Hug that right hip in so we have our tree trunk solid. Left hand onto your hip. Take your left leg out in front of you. And then turn from your hip joint, your toes to face the side, but stay responsible in that tree trunk. And then left toes to the sky again. Turn from your hip joint, those left toes out, and then a little kickstand of your toes onto the ground. Super conscientious of your trunk. Maybe, if it's interesting, left foot into the inseam of your right shin, or left foot into the inseam of your right thigh. This in the thigh thing is going to really make your trunk want to fall over to the side, so just know that. Press that thigh against your foot. Maybe left thumb out to the side, thumb to the sky. You could even do the same with the right thumb to the sky, but maybe your hand is on your tree. On your chair or on the wall. Stay for a few moments here. Make sure you're breathing the whole while. Take your left hand on your hip, and your right hand can stay on your chair or go on your hip. Turn your left knee forward, and then step into your mountain hip distance apart. Turn wide onto your mat, and if you don't have one, just pretend, just imagine. Thumbs to the sky, arms out to the side, sort of like we just did in our tree. And then turn your right leg out so that your right foot is facing the short edge of your mat, and cheat your back heel at a 45-degree angle. Now we start with our ankles underneath our wrists, but we're probably going to need a little bit more space. So bend your front knee and just test it. If your knee is forward of your ankle, we need more space. And we'll pause. Sorry, that's my dog keeping me safe in my house. Dynamic, straighten your front leg, thumbs to the sky, V shape, and then bend your front knee. I think most of you know Tippy now if you've been doing this with me. Thumbs to the sky, V shape, straight leg, and bend your front knee. See if we can stay calm amidst the intensity, straightening our front leg, bending our front knee. It's what happens when it's live, right? It's what happens when we are alive. Now let's go back and forth a couple more times like this. And then we'll settle into our warrior stance. Tippy is just part of our ability to stay calm amidst intensity. She's becoming our guru a little bit here, huh? Let's stay 3 moments here in our warrior stance. Lower your arms and straighten your front leg, and then turn all of your toes to face that long edge of your mat. Turn your left leg out so that your left foot is facing the short edge of your mat. Cheat your back, heel back. Thumbs to the sky, bend your front knee. We're in our warrior 2 stance. Straighten your front leg, V-shape, arms overhead. So we get dynamic, bending your front knee, warrior pose. Straightening your front leg, V-shape overhead. Bending and straightening. So this is dynamic, and we're warming up, and this time so far we have not had the barking dog, but perhaps we have even more focus as a result of the barking dog. Now let's stay in our warrior the next time you bend your front knee, and we'll settle in. Stay with your breathing. Let your left hip hug underneath you like the tree pose that we did not so long ago. 2 more moments. You can always lower your arms or straighten your front leg before I mention it. And then straighten your front leg and lower your arms alongside you. Turn all of your toes to face your long edge. Heel toe, until our feet are hip distance and we have landed in our mountain. We need to arrange our props for our next pose. So there's a couple of options. One is to use your tall blocks, but I always want you to put your props out of your workspace, so we want to make sure that it's not underfoot. And that might be your chair right here in the middle of your mat. So seat of the chair can be a really great way to do the next pose. Arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Ankles are underneath our wrists. Turn your right leg out from deep in your right hip. Cheat your left heel back at a 45-degree angle. We're not doing a side bend. We're going to hinge at our hip, reach way out, thumbs to the sky, and then either hand on the base of your chair or hand on your tall block on the outside of your right foot, but I want us to be aware of the fact that we don't want our head lower than our hips. Spin your inner upper arms away from one another. Press your right big toe mound into your mat. See if we can let this steep as a little meditation moment. For 3. And 2. Now come upright, turn all of your toes to face the long edge of your mat. We want to be careful that this is not underfoot, so you can bend your right knee and just move your block off the back of your mat if you used your block, and then turn your left leg out. Cheat your right heel back, thumbs to the sky. Remember, not a side bend, a hip hinge. We reach way out and press into the left big toe mound. You might then take your block on the outside of your right foot, or your hand is on your chair base, and sometimes that means move your chair base forward a little bit so that you can get a hold of it. Spin your inner upper arms away from one another. Keep that soft, bobbly bend occurring in your left knee, your front knee. Let's let this steep in silence, a contrast to our barking dog a little while ago. Oh, the yin and the yang of it all, right? Now, firm through your belly and your feet. Come all the way upright and turn all toes to face the long edge of your mat, heel toe, until we come back to our hip distance mountain pose stance. Let's move our blocks out of the way. There might be a few of you who want to use them for the next couple of things. So let's arrange them off the sides of our mat, not underfoot, and then bring your chair. I tend to like to use the seat of my chair for this next thing, but that doesn't mean that you have to. I just want you to keep your head high. So remember the head above your hips. So the first thing that we will do, and I'll actually turn this way so that you can see me, is take our triangle for a little bit of a flight. So turn and face your chair. Let's set it up this way. Turn and face your chair. Take your right hand onto your chair and your left hand onto your hip. And then extend your left leg back behind you and hug your right hip underneath you as if you were taking your chair or your triangle for a flight. Maybe left thumb to the sky. Keep your right hip hugging underneath you like a little bit of an anchor. You can look down if it's helpful to your balance. Two moments here. Left hand on your hip. Take a look down. Carefully step your left foot next to your right. Hands on your hips as you come to standing. I'm going to switch my chair so that you can see me. You don't have to switch your chair unless you're enjoying moving furniture. And then we'll stand facing our chair. This time, left hand onto your chair base, right hand on your hip. Hug your left hip underneath you, the way that we set up our tree pose earlier, and then we just fly our triangle for a moment, and you can take your right thumb to the sky. Breathe. 2 more moments here. Let it be a slow dismount, right hand on your chair. Turn your toes to face the ground. We're hip distance. Take your hands onto your thighs this time. Inhale your heart forward. Exhale, hinge at your hips. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, and then stand into your mountain and pause. We'll create something that's a little bit like our tree pose, but we're taking it a step further. Start with a bend in your knees. Very good idea to have your chair nearby, and it could be the seat, but you may want to be even higher up on the back of your chair for this next bit. So let's keep our hands on the chair and take your right ankle on top of your left thigh and then just curl those toes back so that it's not a floppy ankle. Remember our tree trunk? Hug that left hip towards the middle line, and now we're in quite a little bit of a balance and stretch, are we not? Your head stays higher than your hips, so even if you're someone who's quite bendy here and you decide to take your hands onto your 2 blocks, you're not rounding and lowering your head. We want to stay majestic in our mountain even as we do our figure 4 stretch. 3 moments here. Think swinging your hips over towards your right and hugging that outer left hip in. Firm through your belly. Keep your hands on the seat or back of your chair and just dismount your right foot hip distance from your left. Hands on your thighs. Inhale, heart forward. Exhale, hinge at your hips. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape, and then just stand for a moment in between sides in your mountain. Let's use our hands on something stable, the seat or back of your chair. Bend your knees. Take your left ankle on top of your right thigh. Curl those toes back so we're flexing that foot. Hug that right hip in, and then you'll bend your right knee a bit and we'll start to get that balance and stretch. The other part of the balance and stretch is allowing ourselves to be silent and feel. As Tippy proved earlier, sometimes things are not that silent, but maybe we can find that place within us where we're not reactive. We come to a place of response. So not taking any barking personally, whether that's from a creature or a person or a boss or a mate. I'll be silent. We'll take a few moments here. Keep your hands on the support system. Step your left foot hip distance from your right and bring your hands to your thighs. Inhale, heart forward. Exhale, increase the hinge at your hips, and then take your hands to your chair or onto your blocks as an assist to make our way to the floor. Once we're on the floor, I'll move my blocks off to the side. We can move our chair out of the way. And then this is where you may want to sit on something like your bolster, to be honest, so I'll grab mine. It might not be that you need to sit up on something. I tend to really like to do that. Now, stay seated with your feet hip distance, as I'm doing. I'm sitting on a prop. You don't have to. You could even sit on one of your blocks, actually, or your books. Now, just a moment ago, we did a figure 4, remember, with our hands on our chair. Now, you will take right ankle on top of left knee, or at top of left thigh, in a figure 4. So I'm going to come off my perch to show you. So what I want us to try to avoid is this kind of like scrunchy, roundy business. So you could walk your left foot out, turn your fingers away from you, Curl your right toes back, and then you're going to get a stretch a bit like we found on with our chair, except probably not as wobbly, maybe a little bit stickier. Try to find the majesty of your mountain in your spine as we sit here. You can close your eyes. I'm going to leave you with silence for a full minute starting now. And just gently step right foot hip distance from left. Cross your left ankle on top of your right thigh. Give yourself whatever space you need, whatever perch feels good to you. I feel that turning my hands away from me gives me the ability to oomph into the ground a little bit and lift my heart. Our hips are happening. It's kind of hip happening and tip happening with Tippy's input into our practice today. I'll be silent for a minute on this side too. Slowly, left foot onto your mat. And then lie down onto your back. If you've got your props happening, you can shift them out of your way. With your feet hip distance on your mat, we'll take some easy bridge poses. So palms flat, shimmy your shoulder blades underneath you, and then just gently pressing into your feet, lift your hips up and imagine your tailbone getting longer as if it wants to reach all the way to the back of your knees. And then ease your hips back down onto the ground. We'll do that one more time. Press into your hands and into your feet and lift your hips. We're not trying to get them artificially high to the sky. You're thinking more, I would love to get my tailbone to the backs of my knees. And also what's happening at our hips right now, hips are happening in extension is what it's called. So it's a good thing as a counterpose to what we've been up to. And then lower your hips to your mat, taking our figure 4 theme, right ankle on top of left thigh, and it can stay just like this. Or you can thread the needle and hold around either your left hamstring or hold around your left shin. Maybe your head goes onto your block. I'm looking at you, but the back of your head is on the ground. You don't need to look at me. I think you can settle into this and close your eyes. Let's get quiet and meditate again. Unlace, if you have done the thread the needle, place both of your feet hip distance, and then second side, so left ankle on top of your right thigh. Reach through the space and hold either your right hamstring or around your right shin. Remember, you don't have to do any interlacing. You can just stay in our first ankle atop knee, and then let the back of your head feel heavy on the ground or on your block. If you're comfortable with it, close your eyes. And then gently release your interlace and place both feet on your mat. A little supine twist before our final Shavasana meditation. Scoot your hips right. Let your knees spill to the left, and maybe you cross your right knee on top of your left knee. And then come to center. Switch sides, scoot your hips left. Let your knees spill to the right. If you like, you can cross your left knee on top of your right knee. And then come down the middle. Take your feet as wide as your mat. Let your knees knock knee against one another. Shimmy your shoulder blades beneath you. Lift your hips up. Lengthen your tailbone as you lower your hips to your mat, and either stay here or let your legs straighten for our rest and digest. Shavasana. I always encourage you to stay as long as you'd like here in our final Shavasana meditation. If you're ready, reach your arms and legs away from each other. Gather your knees in your chest. Roll to either side and into any comfortable way to sit. And you could even sit on your perch if that feels most comfortable. Palms up or down. I think you're ready. Your hips are happening. Your tip is happening. No matter what or who barks at you, you're going to be just fine. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me.